Good morning. My name is Boyd Lypka, and you're attending the webinar, Supervisor Safety Responsibility. The presentation will be approximately 20 minutes, and then we'll have 10 minutes at the end for question and answers. If you have any questions during the presentation, please ask them in the Q&A window that should be on the lower right of your WebEx screen. I'll be answering any questions posed in that Q&A at the end of this presentation. This presentation will also be available online. As I mentioned, my name is Boyd Lypka. I'm a Senior Loss Control Specialist here at Pacific Comp. I've got 20 years of experience in loss control risk management, and I've been with Pacific Comp since 2013. Some of my industry experience includes retail, grocery, and hospitality. And since I've been with Pacific Comp, I've assisted a variety of industries, including those as well as healthcare, country clubs, automobile dealerships, and others. I have a BS in Business Management and a certificate in safety from UCI. Supervisors are responsible for countless number of operational tasks, including, but not limited to, productivity, supplies, scheduling, delivery, equipment, waste management, quality control. The list can be endless. So we're going to talk about supervisor safety responsibility. Throughout this presentation, I'll use the term supervisor to apply equally to anyone managing or overseeing employees in their daily capacity. This might include such titles as foreman, lead, manager, or supervisor. In addition to an employer's operational requirements, those things we talked about before, managers and supervisors oversee and are responsible for the activities of the employees reporting to them. Due to the nature of being responsible for and overseeing the activities of others, regulatory agencies hold managers and supervisors to a higher level of accountability pertaining to an employer's safety effort. Supervisors are the focus today since they are instrumental in giving life to the safety culture of the company, from the various safety programs, policies, and procedures. So let's talk about accountability. Under Fed OSHA, Section 17E of the Occupational Safety and Health Act, it provides for a Class B misdemeanor criminal penalty, including imprisonment. Section 17E further states that any employer who willfully violates any standard, rule, or order pursuant to Section 6 of this Act, or of any regulations pursuant to this Act, in violation that causes death to any employee shall, upon conviction, be punished by a fine of not more than $10,000, or by imprisonment for not more than 6 months, or by both. Now, pursuant to the Sentencing Reform Act of 1984, standardized penalties and sentences for federal offenses. The criminal penalty for willful violation of the Occupational Safety and Health Act causing loss of human life was amended to be punishable by fines up to $250,000 for individuals and $500,000 for organizations. Outside of OSHA, if there's an employee death, typically there's an investigation under state criminal laws for manslaughter or negligent homicide. Now, under California's AB 1127, California employers are subject to much greater civil penalties and huge criminal penalties for violations of OSHA regulations. On October 6, 1999, Governor Gray Davis signed AB 1127 into law. It became effective January 1st, 2000. AB 1127 amends Cal OSHA to add the most massive civil and criminal penalties ever found under an occupational safety and health law. AB 1127 also makes other substantial changes to Cal OSHA. While AB 1127 wasn't given an official name, some believe that the concept of truth in advertising suggests that its appropriate name should be an employer, pay a massive penalty act. Per AB 1127, managers and supervisors can be held liable for civil and criminal penalties for violations of safety and health law. If you've not been promoting and enforcing safety in your workplace, AB 1127 can directly impact your pocketbook or even your freedom. Prosecutors might not sue a supervisor for monetary purposes. They often go after the company for monetary purposes. They could prosecute a supervisor for willfully violating a Cal OSHA regulation that causes a serious injury or death. And so I'll point out one difference here between the Fed OSHA guidelines and Cal OSHA, that under Cal OSHA, these instances and regulations cover serious injury as well as death. The penalties may include, but are not limited to, fines and time in prison. Now let's talk about something that occurred here in California. April 28th, 2015, as reported by NBC News in Los Angeles, Bumblebee Foods and 2 managers were charged by Los Angeles prosecutors with violating safety regulations in the death of a worker who was cooked in an industrial oven with tons of tuna. An employee was performing maintenance in a 35-foot long oven at the company's Santa Fe Springs location before dawn on October 11, 2012, when a coworker, who mistakenly believed he was in the bathroom, filled the pressure cooker with 12,000 pounds of canned tuna, and the oven was turned on. According to a report by the California Division of Occupational Safety and Health, his body was found 2 hours later after the pressure cooker, which reached a temperature of 270 degrees, was turned off and opened. The company, its plant operations director, and former safety manager were each charged with 3 counts of violating Occupational Safety and Health Administration rules that caused a death. Now, I know that some listening in today are thinking, well, I really don't have anything that hazardous in my workplace. An investigation like this in California doesn't need to be the result of a death. As I mentioned before, it could be a serious injury. So if we think about some of the potential hazards in your workplace, chemicals, boiling water, or steam, hot oil, ladders, forklifts, or other machines and equipment. We want to be sure to take the time to make safety an integral part of your program. Please take a minute and answer these following questions. Do employees know that doing a job safely is as important as doing it on time and under budget? Do I set the example and follow all the safety rules all the time? Do I ever look the other way when I observe any employee behaving unsafely or violating safety rules? Well, how did you do it? Are there any things that you need to change? Here, we're going to talk about how actions really speak louder than words. The person with the greatest potential to promote safety is you. your statements, attitudes, and actions have the most influence on your employees. The employees' attitudes about safety and their behavior reflects the attitudes and behaviors of their supervisors and managers. Formal rules, policies, and health and safety personnel have their place, but it's the actions that speak louder than words. When safety is the issue, management, labor, and supervisors should all be working toward the same goal. Work sites are sometimes divided up between management and labor, with supervisors in the middle and not knowing which way to go. So how do we accomplish that? Now, I know what some of you are thinking, wow, we've talked a lot about accountability. But before any supervisors log off, run out of the room, and toss your supervisor name tag in the trash, there is hope. And this is the exciting part of the presentation. It's about being proactive and engaged. And we're going to talk about some fundamental factors that will help create that proactive, engaged workplace. So let's see how that's accomplished. Supervisor safety responsibility and the factors of complying with the law include understanding and maintaining the company's safety management system and safety programs. So understanding and maintaining the company's policies and procedures will ensure employee compliance. So where might we find some of these policies and procedures? The Injury and Illness Prevention Plan, or IIPP as it's known. Maybe Code of Safe Practices, employee handbooks. In California, the IIPP is the foundational document of your safety effort. It is your plan that outlines your commitment to safety activities and who is responsible for them. Other safety responsibilities include employee training. And so we think about an employee's tenure with the company, and there are certain times that require training, new hire training. And obviously the sooner the better. Before they start working on any equipment or working in their task, they should have new hire safety training, talking about the job-specific, machine equipment-specific training. Ongoing training. Some industries have weekly training. Others are more suitable to monthly training. Post-injury training or retraining. Near-miss training or coaching and counseling in that. If an employee gets a promotion or job transfer. If we've purchased any new equipment or implemented any new processes. Ensuring employees comply with company policies and procedures. And how is that accomplished? Typically through observation of unsafe acts, especially new hires. So sometimes companies have new employees team up with a more senior employee who watches over them to be sure they understand that, or just having the manager check periodically that they've understood the best practices and that they're following those as they work, as well as counseling and coaching of any unsafe acts of other employees. As with all company safety activities, trainings, meetings, inspections, coaching, and counseling, it should always be documented. OSHA tells us if it isn't documented, it didn't happen. Some other safety responsibilities. Identify and correct unsafe conditions and unsafe behavior. And we talked about the unsafe behavior a little bit ago on observations of unsafe acts, but in our workplace, do we do a monthly documented inspection? Do we do daily walkthroughs? Are there employee suggestions or other observations? We also want to promote safety awareness and safe working habits. For example, leading safety meetings, walking the talk, again, being an example of safe work practices. Employee recognition. Sometimes employees can view safety as simply compliance or negative enforcements. So don't forget about the positive reinforcement and recognition. Employees like to be recognized for things they do well. Whether it's a formal safety incentive program or simply verbal praise and recognition at the next meeting, it can be beneficial. So we've talked about the proactive part of supervisor safety responsibility. We're going to talk about reacting and controlling workplace incidents. And so for an incident, the first responder to the incident needs to take immediate actions, first aid, send the employee to a clinic, or if there is more severe medical attention required. Communication, communicating the incident in a timely manner to supervisors or managers. The accident investigation, all those typical details of who, what, where, when, and why, and having that documented, and identifying the causation of the injury, whether it was unsafe practices, didn't have the right equipment, unsafe conditions, and then the corrective action to reduce the recurrences, retraining that employee and any other employees that are doing the same task, and appropriate counseling along the way. For the injured worker, we want to emphasize communication, staying in contact with the injured employee. How was the treatment at the clinic? How are you feeling? How is your modified duty? And speaking of which, the light duty, we want to monitor the light duty to ensure the injured employee stays within the medical provider's restrictions. And we want to document that discussion and be sure the employee is following those restrictions at work and at home. I know we can't monitor their home activity, but a simple reminder to the employee about overactivity so that they can recover properly. In summary, under an effective safety program, managers and supervisors are considered a key component in maintaining an effective safety effort. Supervisors must understand their roles and take a proactive position toward the employer's safety policies and efforts. The company's safety effort is only as effective as the supervisor's involvement and accountability for the safety of their employees. John C. Maxwell tells us, leaders become great not because of their power, but because of their ability to empower others. There's additional information available through our streaming videos, our learning management system, various printed materials and blogs. We have our loss control toolbox. The OSHA websites have lots of safety resources. Some of the specific training resources for supervisors includes the National Safety Council and their Supervisor Development Training Program. Oregon Occupational Safety has a safety training program as well for supervisors. In closing, we'd like to thank you for attending our webinar series. The video will be available after the presentation on our website, and we will also have a blog posting regarding what we've discussed today. We will also be sending out a survey after the presentation and would appreciate any feedback you have. Finally, our next webinar will be coming soon, so stay tuned for more details. Have a great day.